broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Yes! 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 We are back! Our most fun, well, it's Zoe's only, but it's our most fun ever.
She feels left out.
I feel left out.
I
was just putting her first.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, we are back.
You're part of it here.
Yeah, you're on the panel. We are back. It is AfterBuzz TV's after show for Shark Tank. Last week we had the Milk and Brookies, which were very, very good. We had some dude wipes. It was awesome. This week we were supposed to have the Three Jerks Jerky, but due to a scheduling conflict, they are not here. They are going to try and come to another episode, though, so...
You better come, jerks!
We want our freaking jerky!
I was excited about that. Fill that down.
I know, I'm a little bummed. I know. But it's okay, it happens. I get it. They're very busy. They've got lots of sales.
I understand.
Maybe if we offer to help them make jerky, they'll...
I would be okay with that.
We will help you
if
make jerky.
If I can get a sample or two.
Yeah.
I'm always down.
What I do for
You're always down for a free
for
jerky.
helping a guy with his meat.
All right, sorry, we will get to it. I am Stef Z. You guys can tweet me at IAMSTEFZ. And tonight on the panel, I got the lovely Cameron with his new haircut.
Oh, look at that. Or listen to that, podcast listeners, at The Only Camshaft, Twitter, and Instagram. Zoe!
Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Zoe Said What. That's ZOESAIDWHAT.
And Guy David 86 on Twitter and Instagram.
Look at you, looking sharp today with your
very
little
nice.
blazer.
Got the blazer
You dissed
going.
my hair.
No, you
I'm
have-
self-conscious.
You do look like
You know
Sonic
this
the
is a
Hedgehog a
sensitive
bit.
issue.
Do you need a skinny
Sonic
mirror?
the Hedgehog.
I take like as much as a girl does to get my hair ready now because you dented my
don't
confidence.
believe that.
It is because of you.
I just want to do it one day, and I want one day I want to do your hair in the bathroom, not telling them, and I want to see if they go, "God, you having a good hair day today."
I'll be able to notice. I think Zoe can tell.
I'll never
I think
notice.
Zoe can tell.
Sorry.
That's the
All
day
right.
I'll go into hiding.
So we have a really exciting episode tonight because I know we've mentioned it in the past, but me and Guy David actually got to go to press day, and this was we saw these pitches live.
Been waiting for this.
We've been waiting for this episode. We thought for some reason this was the premiere episode, but that had changed, and also for some reason that I don't know, and I don't even know if we're allowed to be saying, but some of the pitches that we saw are not the ones on TV, so I'm sure something happened along the way, or maybe there was more, because we did leave midday. Maybe these just ones were more entertaining.
There was two I was waiting for that just never appeared.
I know, and there was, two that we saw, two of these pitches we saw live. We can just say it that way.
Maybe the businesses no longer exist.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's possible.
Well, you know, we do know. I'm sure. I believe we're all in the know that after deals are made on Shark Tank, there is a due diligence time. So
Yeah.
they have to check that everything happens. But that's usually after they air, so we don't know exactly what happened. But anyway, let's move on. We had Chris Sacca as the guest judge, who is a very nice person. In person. His brother was very nice too. They were very friendly. We got to talk to him.
I don't remember his brother.
You don't remember his brother? I was
Did we
standing
speak
with
to
him.
his brother?
Yeah.
Or did I just not know it was his brother?
You probably didn't know
I
this
didn't
guy.
know
It was the guy
billionaire's
that I was
brother.
talking to like almost the whole time. Anyway,
Was that his brother?
that was his brother. Yeah.
You don't inform me well.
Well, what do you want me to say?
To be fair,
Hey,
she
it's
probably
his
told
brother.
you.
I would have
Yeah,
liked to
you
speak
probably
to the
forgot. I
billionaire
probably told you,
Instagram
like,
movement
twice.
investor's brother.
I'm just saying, I like to make friends. So anyway,
You did
Chris
that
Sacca, he left a high-profile job at Google. He was one of the first investors for Twitter, for Instagram, for Uber. So this guy just said that what he touches turns to gold, pretty much. He knows when there's a good plan. He knows when to get involved. So, you know, I mean, he said that he missed the opportunity to invest in Airbnb, and we'll get into that because it comes up the reasoning why. But and apparently he always wears those Western style t-shirts.
With the design on it? Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a stylish guy, a
typical-
very wealthy guy, and we see
An
he's a smart guy.
eccentric billionaire, you know?
Hey,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg with the
I
flip-flops
only
and the added...
invest while wearing Crocs.
Yeah. He probably
like
owns
that.
Crocs.
He probably owns that business.
It's possible. All right, so the first pitch into the tank is rent like a champion. We got T. Drew Mitchell and Mike Doyle. They wanted $200,000 for 10% of their company. It's pretty much like an Airbnb, but you rent homes steps from stadiums for college football games. What do you guys think of this?
Now, see, I'm excited to hear opinions on this one tonight because I think we're gonna have so many different ones. Because at first, when I'm watching this pitch, I'm thinking I don't get it. Airbnb exists, hotels exist, your family friends exist. Is this something that is actually, a viable business? But when they started stepping into the explanation of these small towns don't have the Airbnb appeal, it started to make sense to me. And the idea that these guys go out to the homes and meet the people and say, hey, this is how we can help you, here's how you can help us, I think that's what makes them different than Airbnb. So I like it.
No, I agree with you. The fact that but it's interesting that they need to get interest from 50 homes in order to send a quote-unquote coach out to do that. But I'm kind of with you, Cam. I feel like in the beginning I was like, really? Is there a need for this? What do you think, Zoe? I know you're not maybe the biggest sports fan, but what do you think about this?
Well, I don't think you have to be a sports fan to know if you like it or not, because really it can work for anything if you're going back for, let's say, like a school reunion. So
true.
Anytime you're in a college town. But I wasn't into it, even after the explanations, and I think it's so similar to Airbnb, and it sort of reminded me, maybe this is what turned me off, but it kind of reminded me of like a class action lawsuit in Aaron Brockovich, where you go into the homes and you try and convince people to sign up. And so I felt like a little creeped out that they had to go in and like convince people. So I understand that they're saying it's different from Airbnb for that reason, but I also wouldn't want someone in my home.
Right. What do you think, Guy?
Yeah, I was with what Cam said. As soon as he said it, I thought Airbnb. Can't they just come in and just wipe them out? They're so big.
See, I think that is actually that's a concern. For me is that they're watching this and they're going, oh, we can do that.
Yeah.
Well, the concept was good because I went to a college that had the town was the college. It was in the middle of nowhere, and the football stadium was packed every week. Some people came in from out of town all the time. So it's a good concept because there's all these Clemson, Indiana, all these small towns have huge colleges on them. Yeah. But Airbnb's my worry.
Yeah, the only thing that I actually could relate this to is I have some family in Charlotte, and I don't know when, but whenever the Democratic convention or debate was there, there was something big there. I know my family rented their home out to like CNN for like the week, or like some affiliates of CNN.
That's
not
cool.
Like CNN, something. They rented it out for the week and they made a buttload of money. So I feel like it's more specific to towns because, like, yes, these smaller towns don't have Airbnb because these people don't want people coming during the week, during this, during that. But for a Saturday to Sunday night for a football game, I think is something that is niche and something that is different.
But Airbnb, you can block off on your calendar and say you only want people on the weekends. I just also wonder,
very true.
Is it possible that they're hoping to be purchased by Airbnb?
Well, they said that.
Yeah,
they didn't say they were hoping to be purchased. I didn't catch that.
Mark Saka at the end, he did say that. Chris Saka, sorry. Because they did get the deal with Chris and Mark. But they did say that it's, something that they're looking to.
That's good. I didn't hear that.
I didn't catch that.
They have the niche. Did you hear that? Am I making that up?
Is that from when you saw it in person?
You're right.
Yeah. No. We didn't see that one in person. Okay. We weren't there for that one. So, they were saying, so that's what I feel like, and maybe that's why I sit in a different place with this, because I feel like what these guys are doing is Airbnb is so broad. So what they're doing is they're taking this, they're building up this market so that Airbnb doesn't have to do the work, and saying that Airbnb maybe can't do the work the same personalized way that they can. Mm-hmm. And then once Airbnb comes in, they'll have Airbnb rent like a champion as like when you go to Airbnb, and then they'll just make less of a percentage, but they won't have to do anything.
That's changed my thought process on it, because I thought it was going to be limited just to the college towns, and you can't really expand into a huge worldwide company like Airbnb. It'd be limited.
Yeah,
but if they're going to go that route, that makes sense.
Because Airbnb is huge and all over, and they have probably a better, more supported platform for that. But if you think about Airbnb, like a couple weeks ago, I went to London for a football game, American football game at Wembley. Like, they could have this for sporting events everywhere. They could have it for the Super Bowl. They could have it for basketball games. Like, I don't think they would run out of a market for having something like this specifically for that, because Airbnb sometimes it's not close to the stadium, it's not this, it's not that. So if they could figure out how to do all that work for Airbnb and it's seamless,
All I hear is the words Airbnb these days.
Airbnb.
My friends come from Australia.
Everybody.
They're like, let's Airbnb a house. Oh, we're Airbnbing it. I'm going to Australia. Let's Airbnb it. That's all I hear.
Well,
Now-
but it's also interesting because I feel like in some cities, towns, whatever, Airbnb is being quote unquote blacklisted, that they don't want it in the towns. So that'd be interesting to see what happens.
I think it's
as
just,
that
it's
as well.
it's like Uber in that sense.
Yeah.
There's some cities where taxi commissions are just wiping them off,
Yeah.
and you're not going to be able to do it. But another thing that comes to mind when I'm thinking about this one though is in these smaller towns, these houses, they can't be charging that much for people to stay because hotels are cheap in small towns.
But not during big sporting events where you have thousands and
prices
thousands
go
of
up
people. I mean,
those
prices go up.
weeks.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
And other big events. I mean, I live in Pasadena, so we have
Yeah.
the Rose Bowl and the Rose Parade every year. And I mean, like, the city, I think, expands by like 2 million people for
Yeah,
that.
sweet.
I
Well,
mean,
we're sleeping over because I want to go this year.
Yeah, we're going Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't live far.
All right, perfect.
I did not, however,
serious.
and this is
I
no
know.
offense to the business owners, I did not think that there would be many sharks interested in this.
At the beginning, I didn't either. And it was once they started talking numbers, like if these guys would have said they had $500,000 in sales or 500 processed, whatever, I don't think they would have got a deal because they drew
In
the
10
number.
houses in Poughkeepsie or
Yeah,
something.
but
Yeah,
because they knew, and it was special towns, like even Mr. Wonderful, I think with that comment, asked him how many houses they have in South Bend when they said 350. South Bend's where Notre Dame plays. So I feel like that really added to their legitimacy, or it validated what they were doing, him asking that question.
Yeah.
But I also wonder how far are the homes from the stadium and what's their cutoff? Because 350.
What's, like, the range?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
near the stadium can mean a lot of different things. You might still
depending
have to
on where
get
you
in
live.
a car. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
near
but
a
then
stadium in
that's-
LA is different than near a stadium
Exactly.
in Shamrock, Texas.
Well, but then that's step 2 of rent like a champion. We have a shuttle service to the game.
From every house.
yeah, all the moms with their
buses.
minivans. Let's go, kids.
Like buses, they can walk to a stop, like how kids would be bused into a school. I'm sure they can make if it got that big. I'm just
If they got that.
Laurie
big.
went out very early. Did she go out before the numbers?
She
Yeah,
did.
she
She
went
went
out
out.
early.
Do you think she
said-
regretted that?
No.
No.
This isn't a business that she invests in. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not her expertise, and this is something that can't be demonstrated, really.
Yeah.
This is something that has to be learned by word of mouth and,
Yeah.
people who are into this type of thing. So I think she made the right call.
So you think Chris saw this as a second opportunity with the miss he did with Airbnb?
It certainly
Absolutely.
sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is a very valid point, though, that you're renting it to people that are coming in to party, essentially.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what is that? What are the rules? But I mean,
Yeah,
the
I
fact
don't
that they
want
only
that.
had one incident.
No, they had more than one. It was like 1%. I thought.
1.9%
and it was a
of 4,000
$98
rentals.
Right,
yeah.
and it
Which
was
I'm
only
sure
$98.
there's- That's the average. So I'm sure they have a deposit of more than that, so it's fine. And the money that people make, I don't know. I think it's a good idea. Like I said, it's not something where I was like looking at it with like eyes wide open, like this is a great business, like it's Airbnb that's a niche and makes your life easier to go stay somewhere.
When
Yeah.
we first all heard it, we all thought the same thing. Airbnb,
so.
this
Yeah.
is a copycat thing.
Yeah.
But then
So
they
did
got
they.
better as the pitch went on.
They
Yeah,
did
know?
get better.
Yeah.
But they talked about the money and stuff, but I kind of missed the discussion where you talk about the people who's letting their houses being rented. Because I know with Uber and Lyft and all these things, and even Airbnb, a great deal of the success of the company relies on people's ability and willingness to let people into their homes and let people into their cars. And I wonder how many people, like what their retention rate is.
Of how many homes?
Yeah.
Dip
How
out?
many homes
Yeah,
sign
good
up to begin
question.
with, and then how many homes dip out after the first?
Yeah. Well,
You
I
know?
think the reason for them sending a coach is I would almost think the retention rate would be higher because they do
the person
have that
going out.
hands. Yeah, they have that hands on, and they say like, this is probably. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been in one, but I would assume it would be something like, this is what to expect. This is what's going to happen if there's a problem. Do this.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a guideline that I don't think Airbnb really does.
Has anyone ever
I don't think so.
Airbnb'd?
I've stayed.
Yes, I
I've
have.
stayed in Airbnb.
You stay in
But
one?
I wouldn't let my house be an Airbnb, and nor do I want to get into an Uber either. Like I'm just wigged out.
Tell
by,
me
like,
you've never been in an Uber.
I have not Ubered
No, you got to get up to date.
or lifted or any of the. I just like that is a recipe for murder. I just like it weirds me out getting into a car with a stranger. So Yeah.
But say the four of us after this wanted to go out, and we're like, oh, we're all parked separately. Let's just grab an Uber there so we can all go together. Would you be weirded out if you were with three of us that you trusted? Or maybe I'm assuming
Like, you're my
trust us?
bodyguards?
Yeah.
No, but like, or
seen
is it just the concept of the Uber, or is it you just don't want to Uber by yourself?
Maybe
That's a valid question.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think.
good question. I don't know. I haven't thought of it
Yeah. Well, because I
in
know
those terms. I think if you guys were a little bigger and beefier, maybe I'd
Wow.
be okay with it. But I don't know.
Shots fired.
Shots fired. I'll be in the gym all this
What if
week.
you were in New York City? Would you get in a cab?
Of course.
Same thing.
Not the same thing.
Totally.
Totally not.
Potentially more dangerous.
Uber is
No.
the best thing that's happened.
No.
It is.
No.
All right. So anyone, so they did get a deal. They got exactly what they asked for, $200,000 for 10%. They got two sharks with Mark and Chris. I mean, if it's working now and you got Mark and Chris behind you, it's like a grand slam.
Could you have
Perfect
two
combo.
better sharks for
No, you couldn't have two
Mark
better
with the
sharks.
sports,
I
I don't
Chris
feel
with
like you
the...
could have two better sharks for anything. I would take them.
that? Me too.
Oh, 100%.
All right, cool. Anything else before we move on to Hot Shot?
I think that's that.
Interested to see how this goes. 'Cause I'm just
Yeah, I'm hoping we see an update from this one next couple weeks.
Hot Shot?
No, from
rent like a champ.
Oh,
Rent
Rent Like a Champion. Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Rent Like a Champion. All right, so let's move on to Hot Shot. What you guys think about Hot Shot?
This guy was weird.
No,
Yeah.
it's not gonna work.
So I used to live in Japan, and you can buy everything in a vending machine, and I mean like everything. So I was wondering, like, why he didn't stop at a vending machine when he told the story about going into all these convenience shops. That was my first thought. Like, you go 2 feet and you see a coffee vending machine. My second thought was, why does the coffee have to be good for like 6 months, 8 months, whatever he said? It doesn't need to. You buy it, like, drink it. It doesn't need that much shelf life.
The 6-year thing's weird.
No. The 6-year thing, yeah, what he said, 6 years close to $2 million.
My problem
in the
with
making.
this thing, I have a couple problems with this
Oh,
thing.
I'm going to be alone in this.
You loved it?
Now, it's okay if you love it, but
That is
here's my
really
problem with
weird
this
you
thing.
love
This
it.
is not a problem that needs to be solved in America.
Yeah.
Because Starbucks are on every corner. A. B, you have the Keurig machines that you do the pod and 60 seconds later you have something in a cup. C, there's no at-home application for this.
Well, wait, there is because you have the small one at home.
But you'd have to buy that.
Right.
And nobody's going to buy that and then do the thing. I don't think. But then again, people bought the Keurig. And furthermore, it looks like a cold beverage in the thing at the store. I think it would take forever to train people to know that this is a hot thing in a can.
I completely agree with that. I'd feel weird drinking something hot out of a can too.
There's
You
something wrong
associate
about it, right?
Can in your mind with
You know what's
something
funny?
cold.
For me, I don't drink coffee, so maybe that's why I, from the outside, think of this as a different experience. Because I kind of think that I get this guy's an odd duck. I'm not trying to say that. I get his comes from a family of bankruptcy, liquidation, aka the mafia. I understand that. But what I'm saying, that's
a
whatever.
valid point.
It's a valid. Bayside, New York. Come on, that's. I was just there 2 days ago. So I feel like it's he's a hard worker. He's a little bit deluded, but in the same sense, and again, maybe because I'm not a coffee drinker and I don't know how accessible it is.
Yeah.
I felt like that's kind of a good idea. Like, I get the shelf life for 4 months because it's like the can in the back. You know, like it's like keeping a Coca-Cola. Like, the can in the back might get pushed around and have to be good for a few months. That's why it takes a long time.
But how is that different than the cans that already exist in the vending machines in Japan? Those must be good for a certain amount of time too. It's the same thing. You have your inventory. And I did drink the hot drinks in Japan out of the vending machine. So I don't think it's strange to drink a hot drink out of it. That part doesn't bother me, but it just seemed like this technology already exists. It seemed like he was stretching to explain why he has an invention that when it already
no,
exists.
I agree with that. I think he pretty much just brought it to America.
Yeah.
I don't think it can work in America with Starbucks.
I don't think so
around.
either.
People, Starbucks are religion here.
You know the reason why I don't think it could work in America or here or whatever that has nothing to do with all that is because I feel like people like to put in their this much cream and this much sugar.
Yeah.
and
You
this
guys are
much this.
weirdos.
So it's a
You
very
can't customize the order.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very standard.
true.
It's almost
That's
like a Red
very
Bull.
good point.
And I feel like people with their coffee, again, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I feel like people with their coffee wouldn't tap onto that. But I mean, they all said it tastes good. I don't know. I mean, I'm
Well,
interested to see
that
this.
lose-
I think that that's right, though. I think that you're right about the customizing and stuff, because if you have a Starbucks cup, as stupid as it sounds, and I don't necessarily subscribe to this, but if you have a Starbucks cup with your name written on it in your usual order and your barista, that's like a whole thing for people. It's a status
you're
It's
right.
like it's like a
I
custom,
see
not
it.
a custom, but it's like a.
Yeah.
It's.
I mean, what was the statistic we heard a couple weeks ago? It was people are more likely to spend $5 on a coffee every day than buy a 99-cent app once every
right.
2 weeks or
Yeah.
something. I think that already exists here, and it comes back to the things where you're talking about. It looks like a Red Bull. It's not customizable. I think that's a very good point. So
Yeah.
I don't
People
think
love
it, I don't
having
think
That
that
was
coffee
my
cup
only
too.
negative about.
But I
not my
think-
only, but again, haven't been to Japan, and I don't know that what this guy does. Like, there's a better way for what he's doing.
I mean, they just have a lot of
Yeah.
options in the vending machines, but I don't think it's necessarily for the Starbucks drinker. You're right, who wants their custom whatever. I think it's probably for the person who's somewhat in between. Like, I don't want to stop and make my coffee or run into the convenience store or whatever
Right.
and get it. So, the in between who wants to grab a hot coffee either from home or just run in while they get gas.
It can't work.
And it doesn't
here.
care as
I mean,
much.
there's Starbucks.
I
there's
see what
Starbucks
you're saying,
drive-through,
but I
there's
think
everything.
if somebody's willing to stop in any means to go in and get a coffee somewhere, they're going to want something that's halfway decent, at least
not
on
me.
paper.
I drink gas station coffee. No, I'm not a coffee snob at all. Like, I'll go into a Starbucks, and if there's a drive-through, that is like my number one thing. I'll drive through anywhere, but I'll drink gas station coffee. I don't care.
Well, but I think, like, you bring up a good point, gas station coffee or whatever. But, like, I feel like anywhere, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't drink coffee at all, but anywhere that you would stop to get gas, anywhere you would stop to go to the bathroom if you were driving at midnight or whatever, any 7-Eleven, they've always got
Right.
coffee.
You don't have to wait for
Right.
coffee. Yeah, I think
So
that's
I feel
that's
like
true.
there's always.
Maybe the fresh level is the difference. That by the time you're in a gas station, if the coffee, especially at midnight, has been sitting, that here you can buy a can that's fresh and
I
delicious.
just don't think people are going to go for this. They're not going to pick up the can
I
rather
don't think
than
so.
get the coffee.
I don't think so.
No, that I agree with
I
you.
think people have been trained over
Yeah.
a
Do you
number
think
of
if it
years.
looked different? Do you think if it wasn't in a can, if it was in like one of those things
A
that had the
bottle or
sippy
something?
top and you just pulled off the sippy thing?
I think
Yeah,
we're
I think it would
attracted-
have a fighting chance.
Yeah, I think
yeah.
we're attracted to the cups in some way.
That's
the
what
way
I'm
we
saying.
hold
So if
them.
it looked exactly like one of those cups with the top on
100%.
the top, so you think his packaging is what's killing him?
I think it's the can.
I think it's a can. You're trained to, and at least in America, I know in Japan it might be different, but you're trained if you see something in a glass container with lights shining on it and it's aluminum, that it's a cold beverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, fair enough. All right, so pretty much slowly but surely, everyone kind of went out on this one. He did not get a deal. There was there was funny stories from Mr. Wonderful calling it, Greek mythology when he was pushing up a
So
mountain.
ridiculous.
I mean, $1 million in development is a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the same sense is like if you've come up with $1
Yowzer.
million for development, how can you not come up with 300,000
To
do the
Zoe's
rest?
point earlier,
Yeah.
I don't understand how he spent $1 million in development if this already exists.
It already exists. I don't understand it.
I do not get that.
And so many options too. It's not like in Japan you have one item, you have like 10 or 20
Yeah.
in a vending machine. So I don't know what he was doing, but did you guys notice this is I feel like the first and only time Lori has
Yeah,
said
but wait.
politely like
Oh, the
Cut it off.
Yeah.
But to,
Yeah.
to your point, Zoe, real quick, I feel like I get what you're saying, and this guy's a lunatic, whatever. But I feel like it's like if I was a makeup brand and I made makeup, foundation makeup, and I'm MAC, and then you want to start Maybelline and make a foundation, just because it's already been tested that this one works on my face, you still got to go through all the testing process to get your packaging and your testing certificate. So the fact that he would like those other coffee brands might have had to spend $1 million in order to get this same thing. So I don't know that's like, because it already exists, I don't know why that would make it cheaper for another brand to get
make
theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to get theirs tested so that theirs can get, it's almost like to get FDA approved. Just because there's, peanut butter out there that's FDA approved or whatever, doesn't mean that this other peanut butter wouldn't have to go through all the process to get theirs FDA approved because it's their specific peanut butter.
Right, and I get what you're saying in the theory of it,
Yeah.
but I also don't think that this guy was truly an entrepreneur, that he wanted to invent something. I felt like he wanted to sell something.
Yeah, he's copying.
So to me, that was the difference, that I didn't feel like he wanted to make it, so why didn't he just talk to the Japanese companies, license it, and bring it over versus
That's a whole
making
different
it.
thing.
That
So
would've been
to
the
me,
way to
those
go.
are two different things.
Yeah.
I get what
Okay,
you're
I get what
saying,
you're
but
gonna
I
say
don't
now.
think that he even wanted to invent anything.
He should have. Well, he didn't really invent something.
He didn't.
Where did he get the money from?
He said his
Family.
family.
and
$2
friends.
million.
Yeah. And he invested
I
as well. I
always
think
think
he
about
invested
this.
$500,000.
If I told somebody in my family or friends that I just wanted to start a business, I'd get maybe a $10 bill. Like,
You have
who
the
the
wrong
hell
family,
do
I
these
guess.
people know?
I'll give you a go can.
Yeah, you give me a slap on the back. Good luck. We'll see you at Christmas.
All right. Anything else about Hot Shot before we move
Hot Shot?
on? Hot Shot
Hot
was
coffee.
not so hot.
If I gave some money and
Did
they were
not
still weren't
get
ready
a
in
shot.
6 years,
Is
I'd
it
be pissed.
metal? Isn't metal hot when you touch it? If it's hot, doesn't it
Well, he
burn
said
you?
the can was
The can's
insulated,
insulated.
but those cans are hot. They are
Warm.
toasty.
Jeez.
Maybe on a cold winter day.
Yeah, we'll never see it here.
No.
Well,
Well,
maybe not.
Yeah.
All right, so now we move on to Ryan with the wind catcher. And
Ryan,
this
Ryan.
was
We
one
saw
that we
this one.
actually
We
did
watched.
get to see.
Oh, you did?
We
We watched
did
this
get to
whole
see
one.
this one. So it was
The Nutty Professor.
pretty much the Nutty Professor. It was quite a long pitch, actually, about an hour.
I think it was a bit over an hour.
Bit over an
I
hour.
was getting bored in the end.
Yeah. But I think, so we have this easy blowing up air mattress. He wanted $200,000 for 80%. I mean, for 8%. Which to me, when someone comes into the Shark and they are asking for an investment only to give up 8%, 2%, 6%, I want to smack him in the face right away.
Yep, me too.
You like, don't you
Ring-a-dingy.
learn?
Yeah, just make it an even number. Make it $225 for 10%. Make it an even freaking number.
Yep.
Like, I can't stand
I can't
the
either.
8 or the
It's like
2.5.
200,000 for 9.25.
No, no.
What are you talking about?
But he got a freaking
But
deal.
it worked.
He got a deal. What? Okay.
The technology was amazing.
Yeah. So tell us the inside
So
scoop when you
pissed.
saw it.
Oh no.
Okay,
What's wrong?
so the inside scoop is he took a while to the inside scoop is there's a whole team of people that are in charge, who we actually met this guy too, I don't know if you remember, but
idea.
They're in charge for setting up the stuff. You have to give them the displays, so they don't have to worry about that. They just walk in and the displays are already there with the
the prop masters
The
or
prop,
something?
yeah,
And set decorator, right?
yeah, exactly. So that was here, and he was, he walks in, and to see this guy, because they adjust the lights, and he just sits there kind of in silence for a little bit, and to adjust the lights, and the guy was just
That's
in
the awkward moment.
the awkward moment, and you could just see we were just looking at each other like, what is this guy gonna do?
He just looked weird. He's
Yeah.
just he was sort of pacing. What was he pacing? What was
yeah,
he doing?
was pacing around.
One of them was pacing up
yeah.
and down.
No, that was him. He was.
What would
pacing
you
back and
guys be
forth.
doing during that waiting period if you were
Yeah, what do you
pitching?
think would be so good to do?
I think I'd just
I
say
would
talk
wait.
to him.
I'm curious what you
have
like,
to say
what's up,
hi.
guys?
I
And
would
they
maybe
would
try
shoot
and
you
tell
down.
a few jokes.
It's too long to remain quiet.
yeah,
It must
I
feel
couldn't
like an
sit
eternity.
still.
Yeah.
It's a good 2 minutes
They
where
might
they're
have
just
been-
standing looking at them.
But
I
they
think-
would be prepped, don't talk. Like, the Sharks don't want to hear from you for an extra 2 minutes.
But they're sort of
I think-
staring. They're
Yeah.
sort of looking at you. They're trying to get first impressions.
Personally, that's where I lose the pitch instantly. Like, if I even get in the tank, I'll be so freaking nervous. I'll be making inappropriate jokes and stuff. I just screw it over myself.
Yeah, you would. But yeah, and it was just this guy. Like when you saw him writing on his hand, and they
Yeah.
said something to him, like he must have written 25 things on his hand.
He had an arm of
His whole
tattoos.
hand was like.
I love that, you guys. I feel like you're kind of harsh tonight. I don't
No,
know.
I love him.
I thought that
I
was-
loved him too.
I know, but you called him weird professor, and the other
is,
guy
he's
was
nutty.
a lunatic.
That's
No,
not a bad
He's a
thing.
genius.
I thought it was cute that he wrote on his hand. He was clearly super
You
smart.
think this guy's not beating to a different drum than you and I?
I think I beat
That-
to a different drum sometimes.
True, but I'm just saying it takes a certain individual. Like, we're not trying to rip this guy apart at all. He's smart. It takes a certain individual to be out camping, to see it doesn't work, to be in tune with himself, with nature enough to see if he blows this thing up a different way. It's gonna it takes a
Yeah.
certain kind of person to put all
You know how many
that
times
together.
I've blown
Who
into a
just-
plastic bag and nothing comes to my head?
That's what I'm saying. He's kind of like the Nutty Professor, where he's out in the woods being like, "Oh my God,
No,
this
you-
could be something.
you
this
have
could be
to be a
something." You
fruitcake.
have to be a little bit. That's a
Yeah,
negative
that is,
connotation.
a little bit.
That's a negative connotation. You have to be a little
That's
bit.
not a negative connotation. Not in
more
Australia.
aware.
It is in America.
It is?
Yeah.
What's the Steve Jobs quote? The one about being the freaks and being the geeks and the ones...
Yeah, the ones that are different succeed.
I just think they have that as a negative connotation. I'm just saying, like, clear.
Fruitcake?
Well, definitely fruitcake.
Oh.
But I just think, like, the guy is clearly really smart, and maybe he was a little odd, and, you know, but you're
There's
like...
nothing wrong with being odd. I don't think there's anything wrong with being odd. I feel like he's odd in a way. I mean, even Mr. Wonderful said it. Like, they all kind of alluded to the fact that he was an odd guy, meaning an out-of-the-box thinker. He doesn't follow the society norm. Like, that's what I mean.
And by the way, that's why I think everybody wanted to get in on this.
Right, because he's just going to be the guy that thinks what everyone else is trained to stop thinking here.
Absolutely.
He's going to think over here.
No, he'll be a success. I thought he was brilliant.
Yeah, I thought he was
you misjudged me on that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So we have Mr. Wonderful right away. You know, the thing that struck me though as a little bit that I didn't like about this, I didn't like the 8% because I just think that makes it hard, and I don't like when people don't reveal cost of stuff.
That's weird.
Like, you're on a show.
I hate that.
And we've talked about that before, but
Yeah.
this time it didn't seem to bother them as much.
No, because they loved him and they loved this idea. And it is, I mean, I get most air mattresses nowadays come with a pump. Most cars have a plug in them. So if you're going camping, you can blow it up. But I feel like, I don't know, this is just saves a lot, and it opens up a door for so many different things that can happen.
But some people don't camp at their car. Like, if they're hiking,
right?
Then they carry it, and maybe a pump is heavy, right?
I went on a trip in Canada for 8 days with nothing but my stuff, and that would have been great because I was 16. My dad's like, blow it up. 2 hours later, when I could have just been.
Sound like Into the Wild.
Done. Yeah. Here's the thing. I think that where the money in this business is from the technology of the blower upper. I don't think he's ever going to get any money for having a better air mattress. The seat thing, he should not use that as a selling point. It doesn't look like a chair. You're not going to sit in it like a chair.
You need a back.
He just folded it up and said,
so
this
I
is a
think
chair.
the thing that is going to blow the hell up in every application, whether that's air mattresses or rafts at a pool or the medical applications they were talking about, it's all in that technology of the
I think that's what they all thought too. I think that's what they all think. Who the hell thinks of this? Who the hell thinks?
I don't know.
I blow into there's some airway that can make this blow up quicker. No, that doesn't
also,
go through your head.
You know how much it pisses me off that for like how long have these mattresses been around? A long time, right?
Oh yeah.
And this problem was as easily as solved as just backing up.
Yeah.
That's it. Backing up and blowing into a bigger
Sometimes
hole.
you just gotta take a couple steps back and
blow
reassess
into a
your
bigger
problem.
hole.
It does do something else, he said. There's some other technology, but essentially, right, you back up.
It was actually, he invented it.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Yeah, he has a patent.
Yeah.
This guy's.
I don't know that, again, like, it's not invented, I think is a little bit of a weird word, because he didn't invent blowing into a bag. He patented the process of, if you're this far back, the air will circulate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he didn't
You
invent...
recognize the process.
Are you sure? I thought there was something at that opening that was some other type of piece that helps draw the air in. I thought there was something else
it's
proprietary.
the size of the flap. It's the size and the design of the
Maybe, I don't
flap,
know.
and then it's because of the design and the size of the flap and your space away from it or whatever that process allows the other air to kind of be entrapped in that stream.
Yeah, so from what I understood, when he was in Oregon with his family, he realized that doing this from back a little bit could help this.
Right.
So then he created something which he invented afterward, like he invented to amplify what he found out.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
So
not
that's
just as simple
invented.
as pulling back. There's something
No,
else
it's
happening.
not. It's like if we had, a regular raft that goes in a pool and we blew it, like, here's the hole and we were just back here. It's not gonna blow up like that.
This would be the flap. Although I might try it.
I want a video of that.
I loved what he said when Mr. Wonderful gave him that offer. What did he say? You're trying to take 8% of my business, and I'm going to end up paying you $800,000 or something?
Well, I agree with that.
yeah.
I completely
That's
agree.
the biggest deal I have with these venture debt deals is that when you need the money the most, you're giving it back.
I completely agree. He said it in a funny sort of way. It just made
he
me
said,
laugh.
so I'm quadrupling the amount I'm asking for, something like that. And then Mr. Wonderful said, you're writing on your hands making me nervous. But he pretty much was like, so I'm quadrupling the amount I'm asking for to give you back, and then I'm giving you 3% of my company. Doesn't make sense to me.
By the way, I've never seen Mr. Wonderful drop his equity in a company down to 1%.
Is that what he
because of how
dropped it down to?
badly he wanted to
he
get
really
involved.
wanted it.
Yeah, but that's still in perpetuity. That's after
Still.
he gets
Yeah.
back his
Just don't offer the
$100,000.
Yeah.
venture debt if he wants it that badly.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
I'm
And then
surprised.
we have Lori wants him, and this was, quite the scene between Lori and Chris. Lori wanted in, then Lori and Chris partner, then Lori's like, "Nope, Chris, you're out."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, she left Chris.
What
And
did
then the
you
millionaire
guys
upstaged the billionaire.
was he more butthurt about that in person, or was it pretty?
Yeah, I think yes and no. He wasn't, but the next one that we saw was the next one that they filmed. So
Oh,
when
really?
he went back at her and said no, there was more banter of, you just cut me out of your deal, so I'm not
see.
letting you in my deal.
So did you guys notice, and maybe this is better to wait till the end to discuss, but I felt like they were really mean to Lori this week, and I feel like before and maybe earlier seasons that the Sharks, had a little bit of attitude, and that's fine, and that's what they do, but they all sort of respect each other as very successful business people, and I feel like that's deteriorating a bit, that now I feel like I see less respect from them, and especially towards Lori. It just stood out to me in this episode so much that I felt like they were rude to her time and time
I didn't
again.
notice. You're
I
observant.
think
didn't notice
they
either.
definitely there was a lot of Lori knocks in this episode, but I think that it wasn't like, I think there's some give and take every now and then. I don't think that they're necessarily going downward in that direction long term. Occasionally we'll get an episode where somebody's the butt of the joke. She often gets a lot of flack for the QVC thing, and I think that's just one thing that they tease her about. I don't know though. You could be absolutely correct.
It just felt really harsh to me.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because when we were there for filming this, that wasn't in the air at all, and because in between each they'd all walk off set and take a break, and they have their little areas they go to, and they'd come and get snacks and whatever. And Lori, number one, is super short and cute. Remember when she had her shoes off and
She's freaking tiny.
she's super tiny, but she never seemed like in a bad mood, or it never seemed like there was, once it wasn't filming, there wasn't like tension between the sharks. So they might play it up a little bit more.
Yeah.
But as soon as the cameras were off, they were all like, "Oh, I got that deal," or this or that. "Oh, sorry, man, I cut you out." It was kind of like that.
Yeah,
That was the energy I felt.
I never got that hostile involved. Whatever you're saying.
Hostility?
Hostility.
Also, though, if you are right, it would make sense because she's the one that's made the most money. Isn't that right? Is that still accurate? She's profited the
really?
most from her ventures in the tank.
That's right.
Oh, interesting. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah. So they're probably just jealous, Zoe.
I haven't heard
That
that,
must be
either,
it.
but if you say so, I
Sponge
agree.
Daddy.
Sponge Daddy's most successful out of
Sponge
them all.
Daddy, yeah.
I don't. Is it called Sponge Daddy?
The smiley thing.
Is that-
Yeah.
I
that's
think
what it's
so. I
called?
think it's called Sponge Daddy.
Sponge Buddy?
And the reader rest, boom.
Yeah. No, you're right. All right, so Lori had a deal, and then Chris wanted in. Lori said yes, and then they had to go down. Robert liked the product, and then this guy too, he even was, once he got what he wanted, he was like, "Okay, I want more. I want you to be able to fund the purchase orders," which is totally important. And so if they blow up, he's just making sure, again, this guy, brilliant, because I don't think he hears all the outside noise of the world. He's very focused on what he wants to do in his world.
I've never seen a more focused person pitching.
Yeah, like in a way,
really
he was
haven't.
super focused. So he wound up taking a deal with Lori for $200,000 for 5%. So he got better than what he was asking for.
Yeah.
So that was kind of amazing.
He got, not only did he get better valuation, he got that $10 million line of credit. That's amazing.
You know what did surprise me? Like back to Mr. Wonderful's deal, actually, that with the $800,000 that he wanted back, and why he didn't just say like, "Okay, I'll give you, 6 months to start paying it back." Right,
Yeah,
because
you're
his
true.
point was, how can I start paying back money when I need it right this minute? I need
Right.
all of this. So why didn't he just give him a little bit of time?
I think that he doesn't
true.
want to come off as desperate ever.
Yeah.
Never, ever,
He's
ever,
very
ever.
prideful.
Is
and
that
I think-
necessarily desperate, though, to say, like, you make a valid point, okay, I'll give
No,
you 6
I would
months?
agree. I would
Yeah.
totally agree. But I think he, in his head, when he makes a concession like that, it makes him look bad as a business person. I completely disagree with that mentality, but I think that is what his thought process is.
Yeah, I agree with Zoe that maybe he would have looked better if he said, "All right, I'll give you 6 months or a year to
yeah,
do
I
it,"
agree
right?
too.
Instead of lowering his percent to 1.
Right.
100%,
Because
yeah.
no one has ever asked that before when he's made these deals and said, wait a minute, how can I pay you back
Right.
when I need
Yeah.
this?
True. All right. Anything else about the wind catcher before we move on to the STEM Center USA?
Nope. STEM Center.
We did get to see these, Melissa and Lavana.
I do not remember them. Was I there?
You were there.
You were talking.
left.
You were talking to Chris
Oh, you
Sacca's
left
brother.
before
in
me.
the
I was
parking lot.
too. The guy I didn't know about who he was.
So I'm gonna reveal this. I don't know if I'm supposed to, but
Special info.
they had a mechanical car made, and they had this table that
I wasn't there. I would
what it
remember
did,
this.
you would remember this for sure. It drove, and then it was supposed to know when it was going to hit the edge and turn around, and it's all light sensors, and they couldn't get it to work because of all the lighting in the studio. So I was very curious as they did it and did it and did it and did it and did it, and it didn't work. So I was very curious to see if they were going to show that at all to make it look like their product was bad, or if they were going to not let us see that. But they did. I don't know if you noticed, but when they had the set out, there was this small table that it was like a, like one of those like white little end tables you get like a key or something. It had like some tape or something. It was probably way more scientific than just tape, but it had something around it that this toy or scientific toy should be able to read and navigate from it, and it didn't work.
But they concluded it was the studio's fault with all
They
the
were
lights.
saying, because it has like a sensor on it, like a light sensor, that when it drives, it like reads. It's a light
From
to
the
see like
lights.
the difference and where it can go and everything. But because all the lights, it couldn't
I'm
work.
actually
But for
concerned,
them,
though.
but for them, real quick, to stay present through their pitch when their product didn't work took a lot for these girls, and these girls are young, so it was really a show of their character that they didn't crumble when their thing didn't work.
These women were amazing.
Amazing.
I love these girls.
Yeah.
Women.
They're so good. Women.
Why can't I remember this? It's concerning me now.
You might have left because I stayed after you.
Please tell me I did.
I don't remember if you stayed or not, but I know I saw this one.
I really need to get a CAT scan if I can't
you
remember
do.
that.
You need a CAT scan.
I really do. No,
And I
it's
bet
all
these
serious.
women could
How
do
can
it.
a car
No, but
go
you
through and not remember it?
definitely left before me. So I probably stayed for one more pitch, and this probably was it.
Okay,
I'm
good.
interested to know if they hadn't gotten a deal, if they would have shown that footage.
Interesting.
You
I don't
know,
know.
it's.
We'll never know.
Yeah, we'll
guess
never know.
Unless,
But it was
unless we
very,
get Laurie on the
This
show.
pitch was very. It was obviously edited a lot. Did anyone else find it confusing like I did? It was very short.
It was very short,
That's
and
right.
again, maybe because
So I didn't
a
quite
lot
fully
of
understand
stuff. Well, I mean, they wanted $150,000 for 15% of their company, and it's pretty much, again, women empowering. They don't have a lot of toys for women or girls as children for engineering stuff. It's all geared towards boys. So this was kind of taking that build your own whatever.
So is it a school? It's like a school.
Well, that was the
There's a couple
two-pronged
different
approach.
things,
Yeah.
yeah.
So they built this thing, and then they built a center where you can like go and learn science as well. So it's two.
Yeah, I mean, I love this idea because it's a very, very important issue at the moment. And I totally support this thing because, I mean, people going into this field, the STEM field, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, allows people like us to be right here doing what we're doing.
Right.
And so anything that encourages more people to get into that, I think is great.
They're impressive girls.
And they're so impressive. They're so impressive. 21, 23.
Sisters.
Both of them mechanical engineering.
Is that their age?
Incredibly
Yeah.
Oh,
accomplished.
that puts me to shame.
Yeah.
It really does,
Oh.
right? It goes, what have
Don't want
I
to hear that
done?
on a Monday.
Yeah.
Now, didn't this give you visions a little bit of, I don't remember the product name because I didn't see the original pitch, but I think it was last week, the update. It was another engineering toy that was
Yeah,
designed
good
for
point.
girls that I think
Yeah.
Barbara had invested in, right?
Yeah.
And it's in Walmart now.
Yeah.
So didn't it give you visions of that similar sort of concept?
It did.
Yeah. I forgot what that was called as well.
have
But it
it
was
here.
where they had the girl on the box.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was what one of the requirements to invest was to keep the girl on the box. That one.
How long was this pitch? It took forever with the car thing.
Probably like an hour and a half or so. And Mr. Wonderful was not sure where you're going with this, where you felt maybe a little confused as well. And he was like, it's too early for an investor. I don't really know what, you want to do. Robert, again, still a lot of work. And, I feel like a lot of the sharks, they saw that this product, wasn't, maybe, like you were saying, it wasn't clear. They didn't know what the outcome was. They didn't know what was supposed to be happening with it. So they just tapped out, really. And then Chris pretty much gave an offer because he sees that this is something. He has 2 girls, and he also made a comment, which was really awesome, that he made a comment that there aren't enough women in technology in his place, so the only way to do that is to introduce this to girls when they're young.
So true.
Yeah, so he gave an offer of $150,000 for 25%, and which was really awesome because I forgot exactly how they said it, but it came back to him and they were like, well, we don't know if we're going to have to give your money back, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't need my money back. I got the money to spare.
Twitter
that was really great.
Still in there.
He was asking, he asked about the end game when they were,
right.
like, what's their end game? And they said, well, we can't give it to you in a year. Yeah, and he said,
I've got the money to spare.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I loved that. I did like that. He's like, I got
Oh, man.
Yeah.
What a world.
That's awesome.
And then, Lori,
Don't
and this
worry,
is
wait a
maybe where, Zoe, you were saying with Lori, she wanted to tell a personal story, and they all, like, jumped on her, like, oh, what are you going to talk about? I do remember it. Now that you mentioned it, like, I can
They really jumped on her, and maybe
Yeah.
it was because also of these women that it stood out to me from the feminist point of view of, like, they've really picked on Lori this episode, and... Right,
Yeah.
like let her tell, she's explaining why she likes it. It's no different than Mr. Wonderful explaining why he thinks it belongs as part of his wedding platform.
I really wanted them to go with Chris. I'm sorry.
I did too, but I think that they made a good deal. I think they made a good deal, and I think Lori's going to be great with them.
Yeah, I do. I agree with you. So Lori, she offered $150,000 for 20%, which wound up turning into a counter of $200,000 for 20%, and they got a deal. And they wanted both sharks though, but Chris really didn't want to share again with Lori.
He was still pissed, right?
Yeah. So I feel like, and again, not pissed like they got off air and were mad at each other, but he was still like,
but there's
whatever.
that friendly rivalry there.
Yeah, which I think is good, which makes it more interesting. But
I think that this was the right deal though, because Lori will get them to a place where they can actually get the product out there that they're trying to push.
Right.
And that can become successful via QVC or via retail or whatever, and then that in turn can fund some of these other ventures like the STEM centers and all that. So I think that's really
Chris really wanted
really
this
good.
though.
Yeah.
He did.
He was like a billionaire that really wanted this, and everything
Right.
he touches turns to gold.
Yeah,
Definitely.
All right, real quick, we gotta wrap here in a minute, but let's just mention the update was for.
Oh, yeah.
And this was interesting to me. There was an update. This is, I believe, the first update for a product that there was no deal. Am I correct?
This
on
is
that?
not the first.
This is not the first.
But
All
they
right.
don't do it very often.
They don't do it very often.
Yeah.
But pretty much they were just talking about the swag essentials, and they failed to get a deal. But how much of an amazing experience it was for her to be on Shark Tank, and it was a crash course in business. And she took the Shark's advice, and she went from $54,000 in sales before to $340,000 in the 6 months after Shark Tank. So it is. If you guys are out there and you have
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, if you have
It's
any
so
idea,
amazing.
Shark Tank works. Either way, it works.
You step in there, it's going to be successful.
It's so amazing that she
makes
spun
sense.
that.
Unless it's shit.
They're gonna
no
make
into
sales.
yes. Yeah.
But
I'm
it
sorry.
works because she took their advice. And that's the thing we
Absolutely.
talked about last week with Milk and Brookies, that they followed the Shark's advice. And that's what this woman did. And that's why she's successful.
100%.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, that about does it for our show. Where can the people find you, Guy, until next week?
At Guy David 86. See you next week, guys.
Zoe said what?
At the Only Camshaft, Twitter and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. Stef Z.
And you guys can find me at I am Stef Z with an F. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.